What's happening, guys? It's Boxing Lowdown, and I'm back here with another video. Delighted to be joined by Raps on TV.
Yes, brother.
What's going on, man?
I'm good. Last one of the day.
Your last one of the day, man. But I think it's important we do this one because I did a video about it actually a couple of days ago, and
I saw that video.
There's been a lot of talk about the fighter of the decade.
Yeah.
Who it should be, like, what's your opinion on it? And I'll give you my reasons. Obviously, I picked Floyd Mayweather in my video.
Yep.
Went down well with some people, didn't go down well with everybody, which is what it's all about.
Boxing, exactly. That's what we're
People
here for.
have their opinions, so that's absolutely fine. And I mean, if we have a look at the nominees first of all, well, not really the nominees, but just the names that people were throwing around. You had the likes of Andre Ward, Canelo Alvarez, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, and I think for me the reason why I picked Floyd Mayweather was because he did retire in 2015, which I understand. Yep. He was only 5 years out of the 10, but I think it was more down to, in that 5 years, what he's done. Yep. He's defeated the likes of, I'm not talking about like what he did after, like fighting the likes of McGregor or Andre Berto or anyone. No disrespect to Berto, but I think in that 5 years, people forget that he fought Shane Mosley, like defeated him, and Shane Mosley wasn't, he wasn't like in his prime or anything, but still a dangerous fighter.
Fight him.
For Shane Mosley, Marcos Maidana twice, defeated him twice. First one was a tough fight, but he nicked that one, and then he took him on in the rematch, defeated him again. Defeated Pacquiao in a fight that we wanted to see, like fight of the century, some people are calling it. He defeated him then.
Canelo, don't forget.
Canelo Alvarez, like going into that fight, there were people that were picking Canelo to win. And in hindsight, people look at it now and be like, nah, he was too young. But I remember what people were saying before those fights. And like Canelo was, even though he was young, he was being primed as the guy to, defeat Floyd. And when you look at it now, those wins over Pacquiao and Canelo especially look even better now. When you see how far they've gone on to be even in the same mention as fighter of the decade, it shows that Floyd, he dominated both. It wasn't like close wins. I think he dominated both of them. And I think I know that this doesn't really count towards his boxing like career as such, but the legacy that he left in terms of, empowering a lot of these fighters to become their own bosses, whether that's a good or a bad thing for some, it could be both, perceived as both, but for the fighter itself, I think it's a good thing for them to being able to look after themselves. And he's been the richest athlete of the decade. You saw him going up against the likes of LeBron James, Tiger Woods. As a boxer, somebody that's not even a knockout artist, for him to be at the top of that pile, just
no
kind of
commercial sponsors either. No,
he did it all himself. It kind of emphasizes for me, like, McGregor fight, it was a multi-million fight, and against Andre Berto and the Japanese guy who he fought, they didn't really count towards his legacy for me. But I think the first half of the year was so strong. The fact that he remained unbeaten and he defeated two guys that are in the mention for fighter of the decade as well, edges it for me. But I mean, it's not a completely easy decision when you look at the other guys in there, but I picked Floyd Mayweather.
And bro, so I watched the video, great video. So it's hard to kind of say anything different, but I want to try because for me, 100%. Look, and I'm going to put it out there. Look, was I a Mayweather fan when he was fighting? 100%. I mean, how can you not like boxing, in my opinion, and not really appreciate what he does? I think, and I will just take it a bit wider and relate it to, you had Wilder that fights. Everyone says he's got no skill. He's just a one-trick pony. And then when Joshua beats Ruiz using his skill set, what's the first thing they say? It's boring. So I think people need to make their mind up on that. But with Mayweather, in my opinion, like you said, his CV, although he retired in 2015, his CV was still strong enough in terms of being undefeated, fighting fellow champions for those 5 years, that the last 5 years no one's done anything better, in my opinion. You mentioned quite rightly the narrative that was going on when Canelo was fighting him. I clearly remember that. De La Hoya and all the rest were saying he's going to knock him out, he's going to stop him. De La Hoya didn't even turn up to the fight that night. I remember the same narrative when he fought Roberto Guerrero. I remember the same narrative when he fought Victor Ortiz. So
didn't even mention those.
Right, so you're totally right, and I think it's a good thing you're saying, because a lot of people just take boxing as the headlines, but they don't remember the timeline, and the timelines are very key. Then you talk about, let's just look at it as in the sport of boxing, the people that perform. I've rarely heard anybody, whether it be a coach or a fighter, apart from Hatton, and we know why, criticize Mayweather for how he fights and the work ethic. I've never heard anybody say anything like that. We can criticize his character and blah blah blah, but when it comes to how he fights in the ring, from a technical point of view, no coach criticizes. And I also feel, in terms of his dedication, how he works hard, no boxer ever really criticized him and said, well, Floyd used to cheat. No, you know, he makes weight. There was one incident with Marquez, but again, that was a catch weight, so that was more intentional.
He was coming back from retirement. I think that was different, because that was different circumstances. And without trying to make excuses for him, I think that was more of a tactical decision rather than him just failing to make weight.
Exactly, bro. So then like you went on to the numbers. I mean, come on, look at the numbers. So I think to say, yes, I think the one argument for not having him is that, he retired in 2015, but I'm like, cool, that's fine. But between 2015 and 2020 or 19, who's done anything better? Nobody. Ward wasn't even in fighting in 2015, but still retired in 2017. So he only came back for 2 years. Okay, the early parts he was doing well, but he had a big hiatus as well. He had a big gap in his career.
He had promotional issues with Goosen, didn't he?
Exactly. Yep. So we know that he's a great fighter. But he ticks the boxes in the ring, but then again, the money side, the pay-per-view side, doesn't tick that box. So I think to argue for Mayweather, your only argument would be a Canelo or Pacquiao. Canelo's got, as far as I'm concerned, he's got stain. You remember the first Triple G fight, he dropped the belt. Yep. Then there was a scandal around the meat.
Yep.
Pacquiao, the same thing. He's had numerous losses. He's finished the decade fantastically, but if Mayweather beat him comfortably, how can he go above Mayweather? It doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah. What about Chocolatito? He's someone that, I mean, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen Chocolatito.
And he still lost. He got beaten by that. He lost. When he was on that hype, the guy from Thailand, I forget his name. Remember, because he had the rematch, he stopped him again. So, and who knows Chocolatito outside of like
the hardcores,
right? So, for me, I think you can't.
It's Mayweather for sure.
For me it is. I know all this stuff is subjective, like pound for pound is, but for me Mayweather for sure. 100%.
I think that Mayweather, like I said, the legacy that he left behind in terms of empowering these fighters, and I don't think he's been completely positive. I think some of them are just more business first rather than thinking about their careers. But at the end of the day, if they're not looking out for themselves, who is in this sport? You know what I mean? There's a lot of psychopaths in this game. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and I think that his mentality is kind of encouraged like these fighters to look after themselves more, and I think that should be respected, because I think that they going in the ring, like when you retire, I mean, it's a lonely business. I mean, you're on your own. Like you've seen the likes of people like Nigel Benn wanting to come out of retirement and like thinking they can bring it back, but I think he's getting it, and a lot of it does go down to Al Heyman as well. I think Al Heyman is like, he does kind of make sure that these fighters do have the basis to look after themselves when they do retire. But I think that his whole legacy of putting himself first and trying to get the most out of your career, not just in the ring, is important.
No, definitely 100%. And it's funny because you just mentioned that Al Heyman, and I remember when he first came into boxing, but when he really formed the PBC as a brand, everyone was against it. You're paying these fighters too much, blah blah blah. Now we look at the market, we make every fighter, whether you're top rank, whether you're DAZN, you're getting paid accordingly. So one thing I would say of boxing fans, it's going to be tough to ask this request, but I'm like, guys, let's try to tone down the tribalism, like, because all we want to see is the good fights. And sometimes I'll be online and these people are going mad, and there's this tweet of this guy said that they're like, everyone's saying he's broken down Wilder's career. I'm like, come on, there's so much flaws in that tweet. And then you got another people tweeting Joshua and saying he's flawed. How can he be flawed? Look what he's achieved. I think let's just support the sport. Like, I know we've got our favourites,
tone down the tribalism.
We've got to tone it down a bit. Like, that's just my opinion, man.
No, I totally agree. I think it's people are passionate about the game. People are passionate about the sport, which is it's a great thing. But I think the problem is that people can be so much of what you could call a fanboy of one person, is that they'll diminish the other guy, that someone, just because you don't like them. And I think it's important, like, to, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're diminishing somebody that your guy's supposed to fight, it only takes away credit from their win, their victory. So I think that's important for next year.
So no, definitely, brother. So listen.
But your fighter of the decade, you're going to Mayweather as well.
100%, bro. 100%, bro. So you, like I said, I saw the video and I totally agreed. And you know, even being able to speak to you now, I just think there's just too many points for him than there is against him, and there's not enough for anybody else. I mean, can Errol Spence go in that list? No. Can Usyk go in that list? No. Can Lomachenko?
Not for the decade.
Not for the decade.
No.
Not for the decade.
Not for the decade.
So if either there isn't a fight of the decade, maybe that's the solution.
Yeah. Nah.
But yeah, I agree with you. For me, Mayweather, record, who he beat, you know, money made, and like we're still talking about him today anyway.
Yeah, he's still relevant.
He's still relevant one way or another. So yeah, for me, I think, and you know, I was gonna ask you, but then I thought, no, there's no way we can do that. I was gonna say fight of the decade, but and the reason I say that.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And it was because Boxing News Online, they gave it to Joshua Klitschko, and I was really racking my brains, and I put a comment. I said, actually, you know what, I will agree with that, because I think that fight, if you look at it as the backstory, you know, the young lion taking over from the old guard, Wembley Stadium. When was the last time we had it? Obviously Carl Froch, but like heavyweight clash.
I was there at that fight as well. Was you there?
Not the Joshua one.
Not Joshua Klitschko.
No. But then, like, again, Wembley. Joshua's reputation, the emotion, you know, in terms of him knocking him down, then getting knocked down. I watched it live. I remember just. So I was like, it's hard to argue, but if you can not argue, but can you think of any other fight that is really fight of the decade?
Fight of the decade, man. I really can't. Yeah, it's very difficult, man. It's difficult to look past that one now. Yeah. But I think I have to have a look, and then we'll have to do a whole nother video.
No. And it wasn't to put you on the spot, but it was because I saw it on Boxing News. I just said to myself, like I said, when I look at all the boxes, it's hard to think, because Mayweather Pacquiao should have been, but it didn't.
It was supposed to be.
Yeah. I thought it was a decent fight. But I know the casual, it didn't do what
It's not one that they're going to take the DVD out and watch again, is it? Well, we might, but I mean, for the casual, no. Exactly. But they would with Joshua Klitschko.
100%.
So yeah.
And even with Fury Klitschko, I probably would have said no, because it wasn't in.
It wasn't gripping enough.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Whereas there was Joshua Klitschko was full on. So yeah, no. But hopefully we get more fights anyway. I'm sure we're going to get more big fights like that. So brother. Yeah. Thank you very much, as always.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you.
I mean, listen, if you guys have a different opinion to us, then feel free to drop them in the comment section below, man. That's what we're here for.
That's it.
Everybody's opinion. So let us know what you think, man, and drop your thoughts. And thanks again to Rapsol TV for coming on.
Thank you very much, bro. Appreciate that. Cheers, man. Gonna get it right. Take care.
Bless.